Freak. Is it true you predicted all of group stage?
Damn right.
Cloud9 making it out? The four-way tie?
All of it.
Oh, you gotta tell me. What happens in quarterfinals? I can't take the anticipation.
Raz, you couldn't take the weight on your soul if you knew the answer. Worlds has to be experienced the way it's meant to be experienced.
Hey Freak, thanks again for the heads up about FPX getting eliminated. Really softened the blow.
Yeah, no problem.
Wait, you told him? Now you have to tell me. Does Matt beat DAMWON?
If you're sure, yes. 3-0.
Really?
Yeah. Problem is, don't get your hopes up. T1 beats him.
What? Wait, we beat DAMWON and lose to T1?
Yep. Just the way it goes, man.
Does T1 become the champion?
No. Okay, so T1 makes the finals. They're against EDG. Problem is with EDG, Viper gets injured, go-karting with Cloud9, so they need an emergency sub. EDG brings up Uzi. So Uzi takes to the stage, and Uzi wins his first world championship.
Wait, Uzi? Oh, I get it. Very funny joke, Freak. Uzi coming back to win a world champion. Jeez.
Reckless wins the 2022 League of Legends World Championship on his new team, the Unicorns of Love. Justin Bieber sings the song for the World Championship. Today's winning lottery numbers are 5. Somebody has to stop him! I'll be right back.
What the fuck? Yeah, he does that sometimes. Freak is a weird dude.
It all leads to this. Make or break.
Vitality will take them!
A new era is waiting. Make it yours.
Welcome to Worlds 2021, taking place in Reykjavik, Iceland. The last hope of Europe face a monumental task in today's quarterfinal, taking down the reigning world champions and favorites to win it back-to-back, DAMWON Kia. This is a rematch from the MSI semifinals, which went all the way to Game 5. So we'll see if Mad Lions can push the LCK champions to the limit once again. But our prophet Freak said 3-0, so, you know, I'm holding on to hope a little bit here. That was just a weird freak moment, really, all things considered. But at the end of the day, we'll see if it comes true. Now, I'm Dracos, joined by a rough and rowdy desk today. Kadril here in Berlin, and of course, Chronicler calling it from Seoul. Chronicler, welcome. This could be potentially a sad day for myself and Kadril, but it seems like it may be a happy day for you.
The last time a team from the LCK went 6-0 in groups, it didn't end very well. So I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I do think that DAMWON, they're looking like my favorite to take it all, and I really just hope that we get some quality gameplay here tonight.
Certainly hope so as well. Of course, speaking of favorites to win it all, Kadril's favorite to win it all, RNG lost yesterday in an absolute 5-game thriller between EDG and RNG, the reigning LPL champions, of course, coming out on top in this regional clash. And what a wild series it was, Kadril.
Oh, it was really, really wild. We had solo kills, we had it all, we had an Annie pick, we had a Malzahar pick, my favorite, of course, and yeah, it was a great series. I think RNG got a little bit exposed in this series, especially in mid lane. Cryin definitely struggling there. And EDG's bot lane, Viper and Mako, came into the series as the best bot lane in the world. But RNG started to play bot side a little bit more, so we couldn't actually see the 2v2 go ahead. But I love the series, I love to watch it.
To add to that, I personally was very happy to see a very competitive quarterfinals. It was a lot of fist fighting, you know, and that's not what my region is specifically known for. And I was happy to see that, be it LPL playoffs or be it at Worlds, LPL teams, in terms of firework, really always deliver.
Yeah, and actually, one of the smites that Wei stole the Baron from, the health bar of the Nash regen the second the smite came in, and it went to 13 and the axe hit, and they stole it, so this game was a game of inches.
Absolutely was, and of course, EDG really making history now as they have finally made it to a semifinal, a team that we obviously think of so much when we think of LPL success, now hopefully able to transition some of that moving forward? Can they make it to finals? Can they contest for World Championship Cup? Of course, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, one step at a time for EDG, but certainly a positive step. I know Chronicler's going to side with the LCK because, like, he has to, you know. But you, Cadril, you lost RNG.
Yeah, I lost RNG.
EDG.
Yeah, exactly. That's my excuse. I lost RNG because they lost to the world champions, right? That's my hope going in for my prediction. I mean, I think EDG are favorites to make it to the finals, right? I mean, C9 and Gen.G, we'll have to see how that series pans out, but this team is looking very, very dominant, the strongest team in the LPL.
Chronicle, your read, obviously you can vote for whoever you want, but what's your gut tell you about EDG?
Well, they have Viper, you know? I'd like to see Viper do well. That makes me happy. I've been following for a long time, and I do have to agree with Cadril. I don't know who's going to win between Gen.G and C9, but I think whoever makes it out is going to face an opponent of a much higher caliber, and it's my expectation that it is indeed going to be EDG facing off against, in my expectations, a DAMWON Kia. But again, getting ahead of myself.
Mad Lions. You spelled Mad Lions there, buddy. Mad one, not damn one, Mad one. Yeah.
Mad, all right, all right. Well, let's take a look at that bracket. EDG, of course, on the top side of the bracket. And today we are going to learn T1's opponent. It's going to be a very, very intense matchup. But looking at T1, Cadril, if you want to tell me Mad Lions are getting to the final, I do think it is a bit of it is probably the hardest possible road.
Yeah, it's Europe versus the LCK. We've seen how that's gone before, so maybe hope is on our side, but T1 is looking absolutely dominant. We heard from FPI, I think it was, on Diveforia, who said Hanwha were stomping in scrims. Niski said the same thing. Goes to stage and T1 demolished them, right? So I'm worried, how's T1 doing in scrims? What is this team actually capable of against a top team?
Yeah, to round out the discussion, Chronicler, how are you feeling about T1? They're looking stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's insane. I think the games that we saw in groups, but even more so in the finals, is also a testament to how much T1 has improved. Elements that used to be shaky, like some of the mid-game, Kana's use of resources, all of those have been shored up. And then add to that the individual talent that this team is available and drafts that are looking much better. They're really, really scary. And I'm really happy. You know, T1 doing well in the international tournament always fills me with joy.
Yeah, and it's incredible to see, of course, the development from going from kind of outside of the realm of favorites, outside of the realm of potential top 5, to now being contenders for DAMWON, something that was never really the case domestically. Really excited to see if we do get that best of 5. But of course, to get some more insight on today's quarterfinal, we can talk to Shox, who caught up with Mad's coach Max on the ground in Iceland.
Thank you very much. I am here with Mac ahead of a phenomenal day for the Mad Lions as they're up versus DAMWON Kia. Let me just start with an easy question, an open question. How is everyone feeling ahead of the big best of 5?
Pretty good, actually. I think something that we took a bit of extra time to do was make sure that we kind of dialed back the frenetic intensity a bit, because I think, in my experience, towards the end of the year, a lot of the time the kind of emotional, mental fatigue sets in a lot. So we made sure to take time to spend time together, have fun together, do team activities, just like have meals together instead of doing like triple blocks of scrims ending at midnight, which is what some teams do, which I don't think would be productive for us personally as a team. So I think the players are in a good place. I think we're all in a good place mentally. So yeah, feeling good.
Yeah, that's something you've been trying to emphasize the whole year, as I understand it. Now, I do want to ask you performance-wise so far, because we know from the Mad Lions in the LEC, and they don't get to play that many best of 5s there either, but they usually do better in that setting. However, excuse me for saying it, but I don't think the group stage was the most convincing games out of the Mad Lions, right? When you have to bring it to a tiebreaker. So what have you kind of worked on specifically, and why do you think you'll be better equipped to perform in the best of 5s?
I mean, that's completely fair. I think we definitely had some kind of jitters in the group stage. I also think we had some bad drafts, which is just on me. So I think the players didn't necessarily get to show everything that they could have. Aside from that, I think the biggest thing is just getting used to the tournament meta. We're a team that tends to benefit a lot once we've seen 2 or 3 weeks on a patch. We get really, really comfortable in it, and we kind of find our niche. And I think we've found our niche. And yeah, we also have more time to research other teams, right? I think one of the advantages we have is that we are pretty good at getting a read on our opponents. And that's credit to our coaching staff, to Pad, Cass, our analyst Aggie. They've done a fantastic job. So I think we know exactly what to expect coming into today, hopefully.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that, the fact that DAMWON Kia just have come into this tournament, and it seems like the meta is almost made for them, and they have a lot of options as well. Now, of course, we have a match we've seen already between you two, being the 3-2 that went to DAMWON Kia and MSI. How much do you take from that best of 5 in terms of going into this one, and how different do both teams look ahead of today?
We actually definitely did look back at the series and say, okay, this is how it was at MSI. This is how they've changed over the course of summer. This is what's different. As you said, I think the meta is different. I think the meta might actually be better for them this time around, but that's okay. Aside from that, I don't think they've changed enormously.
Okay.
I don't think either team has changed massively, but I do think that we've gotten better.
If you can call out one thing that you think your team has gotten better at, especially in preparation for this specific match versus the world champions, and you are the underdogs, I think nobody will be insulted if we say that.
I think we've improved on a lot of things, actually. I mean, the biggest thing I think since MSI is actually just how much more experience we have now and how much more confidence we have, right? Like in Europe, I don't think we've lost a BO5 this year in Europe, right? So our confidence is really, really, really high. All of us are used to being in these high-pressure, high-stress situations. And I think you saw it a bit with MSI, us as well. Like it took us some time to adapt to the meta, to get the stage jitters out. And now we're kind of in our groove. So I'd say that's the biggest difference.
I mean, you're definitely untiltable. That's something we've seen. Finally, Matt, can you give a rally cry, a war cry for me and the other Europeans that, you know, are very excited to see you play today and maybe a bit scared?
Thank you very much, everyone, for the support. It really means the world to us. The support today, we were just commenting on it in the ready room already today. It feels electric. It feels incredible. It's really, really, really loud, and we really feel it. So thank you very much for that. I hope we can make you proud.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this interview, Mac. Looking forward to the match. Back over to you.
Fantastic to hear from Mac. I appreciate that he appreciates the support, but Shox did say rallying cry, and that didn't feel like a rallying cry. Cadril, do you feel inspired after the interview? Are you gaining faith now in the Mad Lions?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he said they look back on their series and like, yeah, they've changed a little bit. So hopefully they've identified something that's different from MSI. They said they got a lot better as well. And I think the emotional side of things is very interesting for me, where he said a lot of teams are doing 3 blocks and they're finishing scrims at midnight. So they're starting at midday, finishing at midnight, 3 blocks of scrims over 9 hours, which is very, very, I mean, tiring in a sense. He realizes that the team just benefits more from being as a unit and just taking time off. And hopefully we can see the full Mad Lions on stage.
Yeah, of course. Just going to have to see what's going to happen. Of course, after the break, we're going to break down today's David versus Goliath matchup as Mad Lions look to take down the reigning world champions, DAMWON KIA.
Tonight's quarterfinals between DAMWON KIA and Mad Lions is a battle between David and Goliath, the reigning world champions and the last hope of Europe.
Foot is in. Arvid has taken down Ruler, and they're going to get a third. Baron buff is still on.
Can't out, shut down Showmaker. It's the Showmaker show as he cleans up in the river.
DAMWON went undefeated in groups and are favorites to win the title back to back.
The shield bow, he's stepping forward onto the Baron. Summer trying to back away, but the flash forward from Ghost.
But the Mad Lions are no strangers to miracles, with back-to-back LEC titles and a last-minute comeback in the group stage.
The quarterfinals. Do they run fast enough? True shot.
We are starting this BO5, and now that we are playing against DAMWON, it's gonna be do or die.
The last time we saw these two teams face, it was at MSI. Mad Lions took DAMWON all the way to 5 games, and this is the chance for Mad to get their revenge.
Welcome back for our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. This quarterfinal is between two back-to-back domestic champions. While the LCK have 2 other teams left in addition to DAMWON KIA, the hope of Europe lies solely on the Mad Lions' shoulders. Breakout year, I think it's safe to say, for the Mad Lions. Cadril, incredible success so far.
Oh yeah, 2 titles domestically is huge improvement from last year, and I feel like both these teams have just similar trajectories if you look at it. DAMWON's just 1 year ahead, where DAMWON came into the LCK, they finished 4th in spring, in summer they finished like 5th, they made it to Worlds, yes, but they never really had a standout domestic performance. The year afterwards, then they won summer, they won Worlds, and now this year they won back-to-back LCK, and Mad's on the same kind of trajectory, where last year they were finishing in top 4s, but they didn't really break through into the 2nd and 1st place in playoffs specifically, and now this time around dominant finals in the playoffs in spring and summer, and now we come to Worlds.
Yeah, and I think similarly we're able to see kind of the double nature of Mad Lions and a lot of their growth previously at MSI Chronicler, where I think you, like us European residents, were both impressed in a good way and a bad way for some of the group stage, and then obviously a very strong best of 5 against DAMWON in their first or second international showing, rather.
Yeah, and something that always that makes me really appreciate Mad is also what we saw in the interview with Mac, where they are very cognizant of what they're looking for, how they're trying to make the team better, how they're improving in a very sustainable way, and I think that says a lot of very positive things about the long-term trajectory for this team. I really like Cadril's analogy of DAMWON, who, since they came out of challenges, people knew they were good, but they never really reached their true heights until summer 2020 and then this year onwards. Is it going to be enough, though, to beat DAMWON?
That's a very good question.
Well, I have a quick stat.
Okay, you have
a quick stat.
Okay,
so,
good.
DAMWON, in 100% of their best of 5s, they've won if they win the first game.
Sure.
So if they win the first game, they're going to win the series. If they lose the first game, they've lost 83% of their best of 5s. So, if Mad Lions win game 1, stats tell us they have a very good chance.
Sadly, I think the style of analysis that you've chosen to present tells us more about the series than the substance of the analysis.
Results-based,
hey, look,
stats only, win rate.
At this point, DAMWON might be favorites, but I think it's important for us to recognize why, Chronicler. This team, reigning world champions, potential favorites to win the whole thing. Talk to us about this team as a whole. Talk to us about DAMWON.
Yeah, as pointed out, DAMWON really, after coming in on challenges, being heralded as like one of the strongest teams, their current form really didn't begin until they got Ghost in, and even then it took them a little bit of time. Then took an incredibly dominant World Championship last year, and then this year there was actually a lot more struggle. Bot lane in particular didn't have the greatest time. Canyon struggled during MSI to adapt to the Rumble, Udyr, Morgana meta, didn't really have the biggest of impacts. But then ever since the break that they took where they role swapped multiple players because they could, and they still won series, we saw that the team has really looked revitalized. Ever since LCK playoffs, they've looked completely unleashed. They looked very much similar to what we saw in 2020, and it's the diversity that this team is available to them, which I don't think they've been tested in terms of champion pools at all yet, or in terms of no one has really pushed them, which makes sense. They're 6-0. And specifically Khan, Canyon, and Showmaker on the top side, they move as one unit, and it's so hard to deal with.
Certainly a terrifying team to play up against, no doubt in that. I mean, the 6-0 proof enough already, and we'll see what they look like coming into this quarterfinals. They really haven't been contested so far yet. But of course, at MSI, you talked about it, some struggles showing through. And for Mad Lions, also a lot of success. While they were not able to take the series in the end, we're able to find a lot of wins. And it feels to me, when we look back at that series, a lot of that was due to the bot lane. We had 8 2vx kills on the bottom side.
Yep.
Carzzy and Kaiser doing work against Ghost and Barrel.
Oh yeah, they definitely were. And they were not having a great tournament. Ghost and Barrel, of course, remember they were getting 2v2 killed a lot. Beryl especially was struggling, and that was a big reason as to why Mad Lions was winning out on these games, right? Mac talked about the meta when it comes to both these teams and why DAMWON has gotten maybe slightly stronger because of it. And the reason is champions, just as Chronicler points out, Canyon wasn't having a great tournament on the Rumble Morganas. Khan never really found his footing in the kind of carry versus tank meta. Although he was quite flexible, nothing really felt like it came into place other than Showmaker. But now in the meta where you have fighting junglers and carry tops, DAMWON look completely different, and they found a way to make sure their bot lane's a lot more stable through those role swaps as Chronicler was hitting them.
And I want to laser focus in on that top lane, because while you talk about Showmaker obviously being a big standout at MSI, I think so far in the tournament, Khan has looked impeccable. And while he was solid, you know, when even in lane with Armut, he was still contributing in a lot of their games. This tournament, he looks unstoppable. Chronicler, what changed? Has Khan always just been a monster? We're just waiting for the right meta? What were we waiting for to see this man pop off like he has been this entire tournament?
I think he's wanted it a lot, right? Like Khan has been a very illustrious player with a great history, one of the most successful domestic top laners that we have in the LCK, but this is his final tournament. After this, he's retiring, and he's been very outspoken about this is his one opportunity, the final one that he has, to actually take it all. And then it's a combination of, I think, him just straight up playing better, Canyon also getting in a much more comfortable position, and with the bot lane of DAMWON not needing as much attention anymore, you can see how much they've kind of grown accustomed to playing around that top side. Showmaker on a lot of champions like the TF, it just enables Khan. It gives this player so much more space to carry, and he's been rewarding that faith with just absurd performances on both sides of counter matchups as well. The Jackson Graves comes to mind there.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely so important to highlight that this is the last tournament, right? This is a do or die. So while it's easy for us to look at Mad Lions and say this is the last Western Hope, LCK are going to have other seeds. For Khan, this is it. That is, I think, so huge and so crucially important. And also good for him that he's been able to show up in this final tournament. And for Armut, I might be sweating a little bit, Gadriel.
Oh yeah, but what a way to end it if Khan does end up winning the tournament and carrying DAMWON to a victory. If you see the screen behind us, look at the champions he's playing. He's playing Lucian, Graves, Jace, and Jax. These are solo carry, individual champions. Get my jungler top, get my mid laner top, get me ahead. And that's what we're going to see from DAMWON. Whereas Armut on the other side, the only real champ that stands out for resources is the Irelia, right? You need resources, you need to get ahead on Irelia to make sure you can find team fights. Things like Kennen, Gnar, Wukong, you can kind of leave them on a weak side, you know, let them do their thing, drop waves into the carry matchups that they're being picked into, of course. And then play more for team fights. So contrast in styles, slightly worried for Armut because we haven't seen the full Khan yet. If you look at the finals, this man is first picking Camille against Kana. Then Kana has to ban Camille against him and he's first picking Jace. So if Kana's struggling, I'm a little bit worried for Armut, but his playstyle might suit Mad Lions in a sense because he can just nullify top, pick Wukong or whatever, and then just go a little bit down in CS.
And the stats aren't everything, but when you look at the stats, I get even more worried. Because you look at Khan's stats, he's 6-0. His stats are obviously going to be nuts. More than 1.5k gold ahead on average at 15 minutes. Okay, so how do I compare those two? Well, I cherry pick Gadriel, and I find the best single laning game from Armut, and he's still lower than Khan's average. This man is a monster, and we have just not seen him contested whatsoever in the laning phase.
The one thing I will say is the whole year long has been like this. Armut's champion pool, question mark, question mark, question mark. Even in the finals, we were like, well, he only really has been playing Jace and stuff like this, and then we see his GP and things coming into fruition where he's been practicing in scrims, practicing in solo queue. We've finally seen his Kennen. His Gwen is a good flex that he can kind of go back to if he needs to. So he does have the champion pool. It's just the question just keeps being raised because we haven't seen much more.
Chronicler, is it absolute confidence on your side on the DAMWON Kia camp? Do you think this is going to be a one-sided matchup in favor of DAMWON?
I actually think that the top side might be where we see some punishment again, and we keep bringing it up because at this point it's, you know, something that a lot of LCK teams do feel very, very kind of sore about is what happened the last time that Khan went 6-0, and you have to always mention it when it comes to this. But the difference maker for me is not just that Khan is in a really good form, but it's also Canyon and Showmaker. And like I mentioned previously, I think that Khan in of itself might, in some situations, if he gets a lot of attention from the enemy team, be in trouble in the top side. But when you add the presence that Canyon and Showmaker and the performances they've had this tournament, I don't know how you shut down Khan, if you even have to, because they don't need to play towards him. Although the lanes do fine as well.
Oh, truly a terrifying feat and a huge mountain to overcome. But of course, during Worlds 2021, we've seen different responses to turret dives, and this is exemplified by DAMWON Kia and Mad Lions. Now, Kadril and I are going to walk you through it in Neighborhood Tactics presented by State Farm. So, Kadril, talk to me about what we're going to see today. Some very volatile gameplay, if I understand correctly.
Very volatile, and I think Mad Lions need to clean this up if they want to win this quarterfinal. This is the biggest thing that stands out to me because they just make so many mistakes around the map. We'll look at this one as we go to the first clip, or this this one? Yeah, this one here. So let's just look at one decision of just sloppy playmaking in general. As we play the clip, this is against TL in the group stage, of course. Santorin and Cordier are diving top. Very standard thing, just dive top because the enemy team's making a play in mid. They get a kill on Armwood, great. But it's what happens next that's just a big question mark for Mad Lions, right? Kaiser spots them out. He sees them running to mid. What happens mid, Dracos?
It doesn't look good.
Humanoid dies. Humanoid dies, what happens? They ult mid, Humanoid dies. Now they've run from top to mid and gotten 2 kills. What are they going to do next? They're going to run bot, right? Armwood's going to go up and catch this wave. He thinks he can clear the wave in time before he actually gets collapsed on. He tries to clear the wave, gets exhausted, and then he dies as well. So essentially, TL's jungle support have ran from top to mid to bot, and they've gotten 3 kills.
Okay, but TL are gone, Kadro. Why are we talking about this now? I get that Mad made mistakes there. Why are we sweating?
But this is such an easy thing to look at and be like, okay, this was 3 kills we gave to them. We can still win the game despite making these mistakes. Here's one more mistake that I just want to highlight for Mad Lions, and this is just how a cross map works, right? Humanoid's going to walk up to this wave, and he's going to try and clear it in LNG's face, but he knows that all of LNG are actually here, and he thinks he can stay under tower anyway. What ends up happening? He tries to defend it, gets dove, but the biggest problem is Armwood's TPing to the tower. He's TPing top when there's 4-man bot, and if you look at the minimap as I bring it up, jungle support is moving down as well, even though Karzi could be pushing in mid, and he could be taking some plates. So when I roll this out, it's like the int train, is what I like to call it. It's the int train. So, Humanoid dies, and then Armwood thinks they can fight 3v4 because he has Meganar, so then he goes in, the fight happens, and everyone starts to die. What could be happening in the meantime right now? Well, Karzi could have been pushing mid, but he thought that he could move down, and he gets a lot less than he should have. There could have been a push in top from Armwood, and their jungler could have collapsed top, and they could have tried to focus this tower. There's a lot more cross-map available, but instead you lose 3 kills again, and you lose all summoner spells.
Now, Kadro, as we get to this last clip, I gotta ask, because this is not an individual laning discrepancy, because we are seeing this maybe just be questionable decision-making, is this something that you're confident that Mad Lions can adjust to and can change as we head into this series today?
Well, I think the good thing about this is just really easy to identify how are we losing early to mid, right? Why is Mad Lions always behind in gold? It's just silly mistakes like this, right? Just drop bot, Humanoid shouldn't be there in the first place, he dies, maybe we should look for something else on the map. The problem is they're against DAMWON. And now I'm about to show you in this clip what the danger of DAMWON is, because we've got the exact same situation. That bot dive from Mad Lions was at 13 minutes 30 seconds. This is 13 minutes 15 seconds, so around the exact same time frame and point in the game where DAMWON is getting dove on a weak side, right? Instead of committing resources, look at the minimap right now. Showmaker is thinking about ulting. He has ult up, he could think about ult. Maybe he could run mid, Canyon and catch the wave, Showmaker ults top. There's a way to defend this play and actually maybe try to save this top tower or clear the wave. What does DAMWON do? Screw it, let Khan die. Let's look what happens on the map. Showmaker pushes in mid, Ghost pushes in bot, they get a mid tier 1, they get a bot tier 1, the whole map falls apart for the enemy team, and you just basically won out on the map instead of trying to salvage pieces. I think Mad Lions need to read this, learn from their mistakes, and make sure they don't make them.
Cut your losses seems to be the moral of the story. Well, we'll hope Mad Lions can at least get some of that Khan die on the top side of the map as we walk back over here. I think very important when you look at it to recognize the discrepancy here. And I think it is a little bit insult to injury, Kadro, if I can say, as the EU pundit, when you come in with the homework, well, here's how you did the homework wrong, and then their opposition is doing it perfectly correct. Does set stakes for how potentially one side of this matchup can be. Fan expectations very clearly in favor of DAMWON KIA, but now I think we need to talk about the approach for Mad Lions. And for that, I want to go to you, Chronicler. What's your read on this matchup? Where do you think they need to play towards?
That's a hard one, as pointed out previously. I think if you do have to look for a weak point, the weakened point of DAMWON has been their bot lane, right? And we saw this even in games that they've won. The Rogue game comes to mind, where Hansama was able to repeatedly find kills. And I think you need to take that and try to leverage that as much as you possibly can. But I don't think you can do that without gaining mid-prio. And that's really the crux to what makes DAMWON, I think, such an impressive team, is that it feels almost impossible to outshove Showmaker consistently with the way that he plays a lot of matchups. And if you don't have the assistance of your mid, then DAMWON might either look for a crossplay or go for a counterplay if you do try and set up a play on that relatively weaker bot lane.
And certainly always is going to be difficult with League of Legends. We never get to just talk about isolated matchups. And Showmaker, definitely not a player who is ever going to let you have these isolated matchups. It's a similar story for Humanoid. So I think if we look at that mid lane matchup, cast our attention there. Showmaker versus Humanoid. Champion pools, very different. And again, we've seen Humanoid really be so clutch for his team and what they're able to do, but it's a similar story for Showmaker.
Oh yeah, both these mid laners have been carrying games for their team. Showmaker, of course, has had stand-up performances on individual champs like Kassadin, and then on the other side, we've seen Humanoid's LeBlanc kind of pull Mad Lions through the tiebreaker. I think there's a little bit of stark difference between these two mid laners by champion pool itself, but DAMWON have a very, very obvious playstyle in how they play with Showmaker, right? We've seen him play LeBlanc Rise, we also see him play Kassadin. He loves to play 1-3-1 champs that move over side lane, whereas Humanoid, we've seen him on control mages. We've seen Azir to deny it from BDD against Gen.G. We've seen his Orianna when he gets banned out. We've seen his Victor when he gets banned out. So he will traditionally just go towards control majors and will happily drop into 4-5, whereas Showmaker wants to early rotate playmaking mid laners.
All right, well, at the end of the day, intense matchup, maybe DAMWON our favorite, but let's see what the fans voted in our MasterCard fan predictions. Of course, you can head to @MasterCardNexus on Twitter to vote for future matchups, but for now, here's what everyone at home thought about DAMWON versus Mad. That's right, Europe! Oh man, that's the copium and hopium I was hoping to see.
Sales are through the roof.
Chronicler, you might be favorited across a lot of lanes, you might be favored across a lot of win conditions, but the fans, at least the fans that vote on Twitter and potentially a Western favored poll, are siding with us, Chronicler. What have you got to say about that? How are you feeling? I want final predictions from you real quick.
It's not a good thing. Matt voted for TL for them to be TL.
Chronicler, prediction. What do you got for me?
I just want people to appreciate Khan more. You know, I feel like, come on, guys, he's such a sweetheart. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I think DAMWON are outclassing map across the map. I think that the decision making is top notch. And I do still think that Mad are a great team. DAMWON again, I let the reins loose a little bit too much, one game, but I don't expect it will be a very competitive series.
Every time I predict Mad to win, they lose. When I'm awake, Mad's losing. When I'm asleep, Mad's winning. So I'm going to vote DAMWON 3-0, 60 minutes, and we're going to go home.
He's going to go for a nap quick. Hold on to hope, European fans. We're going to see what they can do. It's all on the line in today's quarterfinal. The winner will challenge T1 next week. The loser is eliminated from Worlds 2021. Here's Medic, Vedius, and Azael for DAMWON versus Mad Lions.